The Wild Cat, a story from Beneath the Tall Black Door. The house was in order. The flowers had been watered and the grass mowed. All the mail had been read and the bills paid. Catherine and John had recovered from the mowing incident by the woodshed in their routines of settling back home. They would be able to go north. Catherine had dreamed of visiting Nova Scotia all summer. School would start in 3 weeks, and she planned to visit her friend Nancy for a week in northern Maine on a fishing island. Catherine planned the trip in her mind, and she dreamed John could meet her at the ferry dock in Portland, and they could drive north into Canada and take another ferry to Prince Edward Island. After arriving on the island, unpacking, and having time to sit for coffee with Nancy mentioned to Catherine that she had an idea. John could meet her at the ferry at the end of the week, and the two of them could go north to Nova Scotia. How did she know? Catherine had not discussed her dream with Nancy. It rained all week, and so the girls quilted indoors, and Catherine visited the island library, where she found a copy of a commemorative poem on the 3rd floor of the library. It was dedicated to the 1600 settlers of the Casco Bay area, where she was visiting her friend on the island. Catherine experienced the commemoration day by reading the poem. While she thought about her ancestors who settled the Bay area, the poem took her back 300 years. After saying goodbye to her friends on the island, Catherine arrived in Portland, and John met her at the dock where the mailboat arrives carrying mainlanders to and from the islands. Catherine told John about Nancy's idea and repeated her own dream to venture toward Nova Scotia. He was quiet, and nearing the car, John gave over to the motion of a new adventure. He agreed to drive north. During the afternoon, before going north, Catherine and John drove inland a few miles to take pictures of nearby genealogical sites of Catherine's 13th generation ancestors, the cove where George Felt owned land, the road leading to the bay, the falls, and the cemetery. George Felt had been credited the honor of settling the whole area. After buying bread at the village bakery and an early land division map at the town clerk's office, they headed farther north into Maine. Catherine had heard about the rock-bound coast of Maine from her mother-in-law, who always had wanted to see it. Strangely, just before they left on their trip, Catherine received a call from her parents in the Midwest with the sad news of her former father-in-law's death. Her mother-in-law was blind in a nursing home. Catherine would have to be the eyes, the new generation, to see the rock-bound coast of Maine. In a coastal village, the waitress suggested a side trip for them. Why didn't they take the new catamaran fast ferry to Nova Scotia? How could she know Catherine's dream? Catherine thought she would make this trip for her mother too, who had read Longfellow's nostalgic Evangeline to her high school English classes. Was Catherine returning to family roots in Nova Scotia, as in Portland? She had visited her Cajun great-aunt in the Louisiana bayous, and Catherine remembered the Louisiana Cajun red cake her mother made for her students. It was a family recipe from her great-aunt. This vacation was becoming a dream come true, coming full circle with the generations of family. A boat captain captured their whole journey when he said, "The wind takes the boat where it will." They enjoyed a Sunday morning ride on a 4-mast schooner, and John relaxed in the warm, still air. Rarely did Catherine see him so at ease. After a 2-day tour to Nova Scotia, it didn't seem like a long drive back from Bar Harbor to their home in the North Woods. The Sunset Mountain glared pink in the early evening sky. They were glad to return to their woodsy home along the Moose River. Instead of unpacking the car, they hurried into the house together to reacquaint with their sanctuary after being gone a week. It seemed like a never-never-land retreat to be home, and truly they had been gone all summer, including their visit to family in the Midwest and the trip through the Hudson River Valley. After greeting their home, they came back through the tall, black door and stood on the porch to see the flowers and trees and to listen to the river. They drank it in. Catherine admired the delphinium towering over the balustrade. Her attention was drawn to the bottom of the porch rail by the brightness of the neon pink geraniums beaming through the gingerbread carving beneath the balustrade. On the floor, she noticed a strange-looking object on the blue runner carpet. The object looked like a little white sausage. She bent closer to see and touch it. Catherine picked it up and felt the skin. Horrified, she called to John. It was the innards of an animal she knew. It was too big to be a mouse. "Oh no," she moaned. When she dropped it back to the carpet, they both realized what it was. John quickly picked it up and tossed it. There was no body or spirit. He was tossing remains and getting it away so Catherine wouldn't be heart-weary. He was angry. Catherine thought they should have buried the remains with the other creatures. How could the wild cat time this event with their return? Was the wild cat welcoming them home? How uncanny. Back home, on their family farm in Illinois, Catherine's farm cat, Tom, would wake her in the night with a strange cry from under her bedroom window near the porch to come see his bounty. Sometimes it was a mouse or a bird. Sitting on the porch, John and Catherine recalled the mowing tragedy. Survival, generation after generation. Birthing, building homes, surviving, establishing kingdoms, protecting them, dying. John went into the house to unpack. Catherine stayed on the porch to think in the night air. Catherine recalled the fishing island visit. She had been ferrying where the son of George Felt was killed defending his land in a fight with Native Americans. At the time, she didn't realize how close her life was to his domain. She and John were a new generation, becoming eyes for the previous one, her mother and mother-in-law. On returning home, they had greeted the wild, untamed mascot who enacted the cycles of generations. In a few days, Catherine saw the wild cat across the road. It had moved down from the ridge. She watched it calmly stroll in front of the dying tree on the riverbank, a tree that hosts a woodpecker. The cat was close enough for Catherine to see its penny-sized yellow eyes and the gray hair tufts sticking out its ears. It looked like an owl. This spring, Catherine and John have a new ground squirrel. They call him Buster Brown. He races up and down the crabapple tree where the raccoon stared down at Catherine last fall. He lives in Elizabeth's ground hole near the cherry tree stump. Have you sensed your communion with a relative who has passed on, or with past generations? How does this serve your life? When you experience changes during apparent loss, do you look for regeneration in another form, or a person, or an animal? In other words, do you have faith in what is to come? We can trust divine order. In time, there is cycle and circle, completion and fulfillment. Moving beyond time, God provides eternal life through faith in the regenerating Christ. In love, God uses nature to teach and heal us.